Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Evolve Tech series, where we focus on the evolution of technology.
Things have changed, yet we evolve and adapt. But what's next, and what's next for you? Evolve focuses on the intersection of leadership, technology, and workplace. Don't get left behind. Join us in this evolution. Rise and evolve with us.
I'm Kim Ford, your host, and I have a very special guest here today. Jon, can you take a minute to introduce yourself and your company?
Sure, okay, not a problem. So my name is Jon DeWald. I'm the CEO of HELIXintel.
And what do you do? Like, what is HELIXintel?
Oh, sure. So at Helix, we're reshaping property ecosystem as we see it, right? And so what we mean by that is that historically there's been a lot of different parties that are involved in supporting properties, from software to manufacturers and energy services companies, insurers, everyone, and they've always worked in their own environment. And what we're building is a platform that really incentivizes and brings everyone together to provide all the support and services needed for a property to be efficient and do what they need to do, get accomplished.
So define a property. What is a property to you?
Sure. So a property is really any building, and our focus is in the B2B sector, but really any building. And so we have everything from schools to municipalities, churches. We even have a 7-Eleven, right? I mean, there's so many different aspects to what properties need, and we've really built a tool that's what we think is this one fit for everyone.
Okay. And so what property type or what building type has used your product the most, like out of everything?
So right now, I'd say the areas that we're growing the fastest in are multifamily, commercial real estate, public sector, so schools and municipalities, and that really has to do with our distribution channel, and then places of worship.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
so
it's been
tell
pretty
me
exciting.
how you could, a lot of our people that watch our show, a lot of them are in the office and industrial sector, some in multifamily, but I'd say mostly office and industrial. How could your product impact in an office building, as an example? Like, what would it do?
Okay, got it. So, whether it be an office building, or we do have a lot of industrial folks on our platform as well. And so really what happens is when you come into the environment, you're able to see a digital representation of your property that you're responsible for, or in some cases, many properties, right? So we have customers who have, 138 multifamily locations around the United States. And so what we work to do is put all of their team members, their properties, the equipment within their assets, really however they want to use it in one place. And then they can start to manage it, right? And saying, hey, I need to have, whether it be routine maintenance, or I want to connect with a vendor to purchase supplies and inventory, whatever it might be that you have a need for, you can fulfill it on our platform. And some people use it as task reminders, and some people use it to actually go out and buy energy.
Oh, that's interesting. And so who would be the point of contact that we utilize the platform? I'm guessing more of a property manager this would be ideal for?
Yeah, for sure. Property managers, maintenance teams. Part of what we do is we bring a lot of different resources together, not only from the vendors that someone might use, but from the software platforms themselves. So we collaborate very closely with different software providers. I think of computerized maintenance management software systems, asset management, and then really meet the customer in the case where they are, right? And so while we do have a lot of features, if you want to have a robust maintenance team and you're already using a platform, we work to integrate the two and then provide really a canopy approach to all of the data and giving you the resources and insights needed to become very efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds super interesting. I know
fun.
we saw a quick demo together before, and it's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your background. Have you always been in the tech sector?
So I have not. I was so I graduated from high school and went right into the Marine Corps, and spent a couple tours. Oh, for sure. Spent a couple tours overseas, and then came out, went into college. And when I was a freshman, I think my entrepreneurial teacher said, "Hey, if you start a company, we'll give you credit." And I was like, "I'm deal. Let's get through this as fast as possible." And so Started my first company, which was an ESCO. And so we were, doing structured finance of energy projects, everything you think of. Started out in lighting, like most, wound up doing, cogeneration, distributed generation, full properties. And that truly was the foundation for me for understanding what goes into property, property management and maintenance and all aspects of a facility. Um, Also, and this really was how the two universes came together for the foundation of HELIXintel. Ingersoll Rand was looking for a federal dealer, and I was able to be selected as the company to represent them. And so, one of the largest manufacturers of air compressors in the world, and really had an incredibly deep understanding of the manufacturing space. And when you put those two processes together, I was like, it would be wonderful if these two organizations, industries work together, properties and manufacturers in an efficient way. And that was truly the foundation for for HELIXintel.
Right. Oh my gosh. So talk about tech and sustainability. Like, are they separate things? How do they work together? What are your thoughts?
You know, this is something I think about and the team thinks about all the time, right? Because I think there's a lot of people tackling this in different ways. And it seems to be a very data first approach, which is, I think it's not wrong, but the way that I look at it is there's an incredible amount of companies. And, going back to what I was just talking about, I think of manufacturers, I think of, energy providers, utilities, right? Insurers, all these different entities who in their own way are working to actually implement solutions that will provide benefits to a property, to a customer. And so our approach has been to really not say, let's say, use that data first model of what properties are doing, but then work and collaborate with those different organizations to bring their technology and their solutions to the market in in a cost effective and streamlined approach. And so, I think it's really exciting to see where the market's going in a whole. And, I think the piece that we're bringing this aggregating everything together in one place will allow for a property, a customer to really make then the best decision for them.
Yeah, and I see a lot of, ESG initiatives becoming
Mhm.
more and more important. A lot of people, at least in commercial real estate, still don't know what ESG is or think it's relevant or it's something that's going to become
Sure.
something, and it's going to. Most
Yep.
major corporations have already adopted these initiatives and they have to stand by them and live up to them.
Yep.
What's interesting about ESG to me is that, like, there's no roles, right? There's no
Mhm.
tiers. There's no, you have to do this to do this. It's kind of, you make it up as you go at this point, but I see that changing a lot over time. So it'll be interesting how properties are impacted, not only from the investment side, right, with
Yeah.
ESG restrictions, but companies that are now going to occupy properties. So we'll see how that impacts sustainability, because it's just one little piece of ESG, right?
Oh, okay. I mean, I'll tell you what, yesterday I was actually received a phone call from a colleague of mine who helps a mechanical services company in the DC area. And the company reached out to him and said, hey, there's actually some teeth now behind the ESG programs that DC is pushing forward.
Yeah.
And so they have to think about how they're relaying information and supporting the properties. And I think they have probably like around 800 properties that they service. And so, it's going to be a big initiative for them. And that's one of, countless contractors who are in this environment. And it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, for sure. So what has changed since you've become CEO of HELIXintel?
Oh, so much. I think the biggest thing was really the pivot from our go-to-market strategy.
Okay.
And so, you heard me before say that, initially we were focusing and really collaborating with manufacturers. And so, my friends, colleagues that I work with, a lot of us do come out of that space, whether it be working with Train, Otis, Ingersoll Rand, companies like that. And so, we identified a problem of manufacturers really having we're fantastic at selling equipment, but once it comes to staying connected with it, there's this break that happens. And so our goal was that, build that bridge. But about 2 years ago, a, uh, a venture firm called Munich Re Ventures, which is the venture capital arm of Munich Reinsurance, the largest reinsurer in the world, reached out to us and said, "Hey, we think your business model is solving a problem that we have within the insurance space." And so they introduced me to one of their entities called Hartford Steam Boiler. And they're a specialty insurer as well as they focus on equipment breakdown insurance. Probably I think they're the leader in North America, and I'd say just an absolutely remarkable organization. And so we, over about a year and a half to 2 year window, developed a relationship. We spent quite a bit of time in our platform and them and analyzing us and making sure that it did what we said it was going to do, right? Because as you can imagine, they're an insurer, and so if they're going to put something forth in front of their customers, they've reduced the risk themselves. And so because of that relationship, we're now actually distributing our platform through the insurance channel. And one of the major benefits to this is that because of this structure, it's no cost to properties. And might have wanted to say that in the beginning, but the business model that we've really enacted here is that we've removed that cost barrier for properties, which means when you're thinking about scaling, when you're thinking about targeting a property, and this could be any prop tech platform, right? Cost is the number one reason why people say no. And with that no longer in the equation, now you have all the products, all the platforms at your fingertips, and it's just, will this bring value to me? And it's been
Right.
pretty incredible for us to see how quickly we've been able to scale up.
Yeah, for sure. So what innovations do you see in the future of the company? Like, I mean, obviously innovation's a big thing. I was listening to a podcast on my way to the office this morning, and this major investor, he talked about the fact that, innovators aren't 65. They're, in their 20s, early 30s, and they're the people you have to watch because they're kind of what's up and coming. So what are your thoughts on, HELIXintel's future and innovation?
I mean, this is something that, again, like the team and I think about all the time because we are approached, 10 times a day from different companies around, really around the world, talking about what they can help us with. And what we've done is really built quite a robust backlog of activity, right? And so when we think about innovation, there's two sides of it. One is the platform itself, right? And it's truly like, how can we make this simple? How can we get this to where our goal is people are just answering yes, no questions. Is this something that I want? Do I want to do maintenance? Yes or no, right? Here's why. Give them reasons why, tell them what's wrong, and then give them a way to solve it. So we're really working to simplify that in a very streamlined approach. The other side to it is, and just this is because of the way we've structured our platform, the ability to bring forth innovation from all these companies around the world. And I'm talking about some, we're right now putting deals together with some of the largest manufacturers, to some very small niche companies who have an incredibly creative concept, and put them into one place and push them into a market where they'll be able to reach hundreds of thousands and soon millions of properties, because of the ability to really enter the way we've designed it. And so I think that there's a moment in time happening where we've unlocked that first part that's really held back so much potential in the prop tech space, and it's going to really push the entire ecosystem forward.
Oh, that's exciting. So any challenges, whether it's logistical, business, growth, supply chain, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges right now?
For us as a company, I think that the biggest challenge is, we're going into this new time of, the economy, right? And I think that I've been collaborating with a lot of not only venture companies that we work with and but other founders. And there's a lot of uncertainty around what they should do, when they should raise capital, if they should raise capital, all of that. And I think back to one of my very first investors, and he was a partner at Bessemer, and he said to me, John, money seeks value, right? No matter where you are, money seeks value. And So what we've been working to do is just continue to build value, and whether it be for investors or for or for our partners or insurers or all the organizations that we work with. And so, that's something that we've been really focused on. I think the other thing is you talk about supply chain and all those, right? There's so much going on there. We do collaborate very closely with some of the very largest OEMs and distributors to tackle this problem as well. And I don't think there's a good answer there yet, right? I know there's a lot of platforms out there, and we work to solve it by having many options to solve, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is, for us, it works. But I can tell you that there's a lot of really smart people around the world trying to figure out how to make this, make this an efficient way. And I'm very optimistic.
Optimistic is good. I always joke around. I'm like, I'm an optimist and nobody's going to take that away from me. And I'm sorry in advance because I give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
There you
and
go.
everything the benefit of the doubt. So CEOs right now, I think in many ways, a lot has changed since the pandemic. Whether we're out of it and it doesn't, or we're still in it. Business has changed. There is some type of new normal at some point. Hopefully it won't be called the new normal anymore. CEOs right now, like, what advice would you give to other CEOs as they try to navigate what's next?
I basically tell people this on repeat, right? Which is, number one, just keep building. If you think that what you're building, whether it's, a technology stack or whether it's a company who's you're serving equipment, whatever you're doing, just keep executing on it and don't quit, right? I mean, I think I've learned that. I would hearken that back to my Marine Corps days, but in reality, my parents are educators and really instilled in us, do whatever it takes to be successful. And I say that all the time. It's never, especially in a startup environment, right? Things are never going to go the way you expect it ever. This is I think this is my
Yeah.
fifth company, and so,
I don't know.
just
Isn't a
know.
startup like life? I mean, to a certain degree, you have this plan, right? Even with I have my kids, they're finally becoming adults, and I always thought they'd do this, and I'm like, oh wow, I guess they're not doing that now. I mean, it's no different than a startup. Like, you go down this direction, you think it's great, you guys all agree this is the plan, and like, you're, a quarter of the way through, and you're like, oh my God, but what about this? And then you go a totally different direction, and you adapt, right?
Oh, Kim,
Keep
you're
going.
you're so head on. I mean, truly, like I come from the ESCO world. I've worked with manufacturers. I've worked with energy services companies. We have a partnership with Constellation, right? And so this is where I envisioned and where we built.
Yeah.
I have my experience in insurance is it started 2 years ago, right? Like, it didn't come from there, but when they approached me and they said, "Hey, this is the problem that we have, and this is where we think you're solving it," I was like, "Let me put our team around this," and then we went all in once we realized how impactful it can be.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had to leave us with something for, let's just say, a building owner, right? An office building owner, why should he use your platform? What's the benefit to him?
Sure. So, what we say is, if you're a building owner, if you're a property, you're going to save money, you're going to reduce your time, you're going to extend the life of your equipment, and in general, you're going to make your life a lot easier, right? Our goal is to accomplish those things for you and put the hard work, and what we mean by hard work is the actual implementation into the people who you already entrust, right? You work with vendors or you need someone, we bring that all for you into one place and make it very simple.
And the building owner or the property manager, it's not in their budget. They're not paying for your
They
platform.
are not.
Okay. And that's what's key, right?
They're not, right? And we have a conversation with properties about that all the time, right? Because anyone, right, and will say, well, if you're not charging me, then how are you making your money,
Right.
right? And we have a very important point to that, which is we are essentially aggregating data, and we anonymize it and create scenarios for manufacturers, for contractors. When they look at that, if it applies to that property, and we present that property with an opportunity to take advantage of something. So let's say that they have a piece of equipment that's about to fail, and they want to say yes. They can either engage their vendor, or they click yes, and we'll connect them with someone who can help them with it. And so we've done it in a very creative way, because what we don't want to do is, honestly go down the road of what we've seen happen to Google and Facebook and all those organizations who have, take data and start selling it to the masses, right? It's just,
Right.
I think properties and in what we're building here, there's a sacred trust between one another.
Yeah, for sure. Well, our goal with Evolve is to help leaders learn, connect, and grow together. And Jon, thank you so much for spending time with us today, and stay warm and dry. And thank you
as
again.
well. Thanks again.
Thanks.